Welcome to this lecture on flight adaptations in birds. Have you ever wondered how a creature made of flesh and bone can effortlessly soar through the sky, defying gravity? Today, we are going to explore the incredible biological engineering that makes avian flight possible. We will uncover the specific morphological, anatomical, and physiological changes that birds have evolved over millions of years. By the end of this session, you will not only understand the biology of a bird's body, but also the fundamental physics that keep them airborne. To truly appreciate how birds fly, let us first think about the engineering problem of flight. Imagine trying to build an airplane from scratch in your backyard. If you use heavy steel, your machine will be strong, but it will never get off the ground, no matter how powerful the engine is. On the other hand, if you use flimsy paper, it might be light enough to lift, but the wind will tear it apart. Birds have perfectly solved this exact dilemma. They operate just like living airplanes, requiring a perfect balance between being incredibly lightweight and remarkably powerful. Every single part of a bird's body is specifically designed to conquer gravity. Now that we understand the challenge of flight, let us look at how birds physically adapt to overcome it, starting with their morphology. When a bird flies, the air pushes back against it, creating a force called drag. To minimize this, birds have evolved a highly streamlined, spindle-shaped body. Think of how a sports car is curved to slice through the wind. A bird's body does the exact same thing. Furthermore, their bodies are covered in specialized feathers that smooth out their surface, drastically reducing air resistance. These external modifications are the first crucial step in making aerial locomotion possible and energy efficient. Moving beneath the feathers, we find that a bird's internal anatomy is just as specialized. To solve the weight problem we discussed earlier, birds have evolved pneumatic bones. These are hollow bones supported by internal struts, making them incredibly lightweight without sacrificing structural strength. But being light is only half the battle. A bird also needs immense power to flap its wings. To support this, they possess a massive keeled sternum, or breastbone. This enlarged bone acts as a heavy-duty anchor point for their massive chest muscles, providing the mechanical leverage needed to generate powerful downward wing strokes. Beyond their bones and muscles, birds must also fuel their intense physical exertion. Flapping wings requires an enormous amount of energy, which in turn demands a massive, constant supply of oxygen. To meet this demand, birds have developed a highly efficient one-way respiratory system. Unlike mammals, whose lungs mix fresh and stale air, birds have specialized air sacs connected to their lungs. These air sacs act like bellows, ensuring that fresh, oxygen-rich air flows continuously through the lungs in one direction, even when the bird is exhaling. This physiological marvel ensures their flight muscles never run out of power. So, why did nature invest so much effort into these complex adaptations? The ability to fly provides birds with an unparalleled survival advantage. It allows them to easily escape terrestrial predators and build nests in safe, inaccessible places like tall trees or sheer cliffs. Furthermore, flight enables birds to travel vast distances, which is the primary driving force behind global bird migrations to find seasonal food. Without these adaptations, birds would be stuck on the ground, competing directly with mammals and reptiles. Interestingly, understanding these biological marvels has directly inspired human engineering, influencing the design of modern aircraft and drones. Now that we have explored the biological side, Let us transition to the physics of flight. To truly understand how birds stay airborne, we must look at the relationship between their body weight and their wings. This relationship is measured by a crucial aerodynamic concept called wing loading. Wing loading essentially tells us how much weight each unit of wing area must support. It dictates how fast a bird must fly and how much energy it must spend. A bird with small wings and a heavy body has high wing loading, meaning it must flap rapidly to stay up. Conversely, a bird with massive wings and a light body has low wing loading, allowing it to glide effortlessly. Let us look at the mathematical formula that defines this concept. Wing loading, denoted by WL, is equal to m times g divided by a. Here, m is the mass of the bird in kilograms, and g is the acceleration due to gravity, which is approximately 9.8 meters per second squared. Multiplying mass and gravity gives us the total downward weight of the bird in newtons. We then divide this weight by a, which represents the total surface area of the bird's wings in square meters. If the mass increases while the wing area stays the same, the wing loading goes up, meaning the bird must fly faster to generate enough lift. If the wing area is very large, the wing loading drops, making flight much easier. Let us apply this formula to a real-world example. Imagine we're studying a wandering albatross, a bird famous for gliding over oceans for hours. We are given its mass as 8.0 kilograms and its massive wing area as 0.6 square meters. First, we need to find the total downward force, or weight. We multiply the mass, 8.0, by gravity, 9.8, which gives us exactly 78.4 newtons. Next, we take this total weight and divide it by the wing area of 0.6 square meters. This calculation yields a final wing loading of approximately 130.67 newtons per square meter. This is a very low value for such a large animal, which perfectly explains why the albatross can glide for thousands of miles with minimal energy. Having seen how wing loading affects flight style, we must now ask, how does a bird actually stay level in the air? For a bird to maintain a steady, level flight without falling, the upward lift force generated by its wings must exactly equal its downward weight. This lift is created as air flows over the specialized shape of the bird's wings. Biologists and engineers use a specific metric called the lift coefficient to measure how effectively a wing generates this upward force. By physically tilting their wings, changing what is known as the angle of attack, birds can dynamically adjust their lift coefficient to compensate for changes in their flight speed and stay safely aloft. To calculate this upward force, we use the standard aerodynamic lift equation. The lift force, L, equals 1/2 times rho times v squared times a times CL. Let us break down these symbols. L is the total upward lift force in newtons. The Greek letter rho represents the density of the air. The variable v is the velocity, or how fast the bird is flying. A is the total surface area of the wings. Finally, CL is the lift coefficient, which captures the wing's effectiveness. Notice that velocity is squared. This means that if a bird flies just a little bit faster, the lift it generates increases dramatically. If the bird slows down, it must increase its lift coefficient to avoid falling. Let us see this formula in action with a pigeon. Suppose the pigeon weighs 4.0 newtons, so it needs exactly 4.0 newtons of lift to fly level. It is flying at a velocity of 10.0 meters per second, the air density is 1.2, and its wing area is 0.08 square meters. We plug all these known values into our lift equation. First, we square the velocity of 10.0 to get 100.0. Then, we multiply 1/2 by the air density of 1.2, giving us 0.6. Multiplying 0.6 by 100.0 and then by the wing area of 0.08 consolidates all our constants into a single value of 4.8. Finally, we divide 4.0 by 4.8 to isolate CL. The required lift coefficient is 0.833. This tells us exactly how the pigeon must angle its wings to maintain level flight at this specific speed. Now that we have calculated these forces, let us visualize them all together. What you are looking at is a classic aerodynamic force diagram. Notice the bird in the center. There are 4 fundamental forces acting on it simultaneously. Pointing straight down is weight, caused by gravity pulling the bird's mass toward the earth. Directly opposing this is the upward arrow labeled lift, which, as we just calculated, is generated by the wings pushing through the air. Pointing forward is thrust, the propulsive force created by the bird flapping its wings. Finally, pointing backward is drag, the air resistance the bird must overcome. For the bird to fly at a steady speed and a constant altitude, lift must perfectly balance weight and thrust must perfectly balance drag. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today, so let us summarize the key takeaways. First, we learned that flight adaptations are a masterclass in biological engineering, requiring a perfect balance between minimizing weight and maximizing power. Second, we saw how specific anatomical features, like hollow bones and a massive keeled sternum, make this possible. Third, we explored the physics of flight, discovering that wing loading dictates a bird's flight style and energy efficiency. Finally, we used the aerodynamic lift equation to understand exactly how a bird's wings generate the upward force needed to conquer gravity. You now have a comprehensive understanding of both the biology and the physics that allow birds to rule the skies. Excellent work.